Okay, this is the Torah portion today of HAR. I want to welcome all of you on Facebook land, Messenger land, and all of you here. Okay, you know, this portion is a double portion. It's called HAR, and it's a double portion and the final portion of the book of Leviticus, Vayikra. Now, isn't it amazing that our first meeting in quarantine was the first portion of Vayikra, called Vayikra, or Leviticus. It means to preach. I've been sharing this with some of us, but I really feel this is what God is speaking. This is what God is speaking. Is this working okay? Can you all hear okay? Okay. What God is speaking to us is that He wants His word preached again. And I mean the Torah. And I mean God's times and seasons, the calendar. He wants us all, His body of Messiah, on the right calendar. That's why this happened right on the midpoint of the whole portions, the weekly portions of from the beginning of the year to the end. This is the middle point, the book of Leviticus. That means to preach, and I really believe that's what God is saying. Is He wants us to preach His word, preach His Torah. Okay, and I kind of felt that when this would end, we would already be ending the book of Leviticus. And, you know, there's some congregations that will be gathering next Shabbat, which will be the first portion of the next book, which is called Vayikra, or Numbers, okay? But I think that God is speaking to us. But if people aren't paying attention because they're not on the calendar and they're not studying the Torah portions and everything, they're never going to understand what God has been saying about this quarantine and this virus. You know, I think it's just God saying, spend time with me, spend time in my word, start preaching my word again. The problem in the body of Messiah is we've been preaching everything but His word. And I'm not speaking for everybody, I'm saying for a lot of places. It's been good, you know, messages about feeling good, and what do you call those messages? Is those people who like to have the good sayings, but they're not really
feel good message? Joyful.
No, that's not the word I'm looking for.
Prosperity?
Prosperity. Well, that's prosperity.
We don't want to be joyful.
I'm trying to look for the word to describe that. You know, where you go and you hear, it's like they used to have a lot of these people come and preach good feeling messages, and there's a word for it, but I can't think of what it is. But
the good news.
No, it's not. It's not the good news.
Evangelistic?
The good news is the Torah. Okay? But, no.
Charismatic?
Well, you could say apply charismatic to it. But you all know what it is. It's when someone preaches, you know, the good feeling messages.
Yeah, it's a feel-good message.
No, there's a word for it.
Oh.
Okay, all right.
All right.
Hopefully someone will remember before we're done today.
And I hope so.
All right. But the thing is, now, the gospel is a feel-good message. The Torah is a feel-good message. But it isn't a flesh prepper. It isn't a flesh builder. Okay? It is a spirit builder. The Word of God feeds our spirit. And out of that comes goodness in our lives. Out of that comes blessing in our lives. And, you know, you can just preach a bunch of things, good things, but if it's not the Word of God, it's not going to have the same effect of transformation, of changing us. Okay? So we are to preach the Word of God again because it has been preached. Do you know how desperate they are in places like China, where they're forbidden from studying the Word of God, and North Korea and other places? That you should see them trying to get. They will get a Bible and they'll tear it apart. And I don't mean tear up the Word. I mean tear out parts, because they're so desperate for the Word of God. Where is that desperation upon the people of God? You know, as I shared before, we're like the Laodicea church. Not all churches. I'm saying that many of them. We've become very lazy, and we've become very caught up in the good feelings, and caught up in, the band, they played such a great group of music, and, you know, and then they go home and they don't change. They're not transformed. And I can't remember that word to describe it, but anyhow. Now this portion is Christina's birthday portion. Okay? And I think other people in this group have birthdays too. I can't remember who. There's someone else that I know that has a birthday on this. Actually, it's toward the end of the month, the same day as Christina, but it's like, every person has a portion. Every person has a word from God. I'd like to say it like that, because maybe that's what will get people into the Word of God. Is they all have a word from God. You don't have to go to the local prophet who's coming to preach. You can actually go to your Torah portion and you can receive a word from the Lord about your life, about what God intends for you. Okay, so this portion, Bahar Bachukotai. Okay, let's do the blessing. Baruch Yehovah HaBarach, Baruch Yehovah HaBarach Le'olam Va'ed, Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam, Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Ha'amim V'natan Lanu Et Torato, Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah. Amen. Bless the Lord, the blessed one. Blessed is the Lord, the blessed one, for all eternity. And blessed are you, O Lord our God, King of the universe, who has chosen us from all peoples and given us his Torah. Blessed are you, O Lord, giver of the Torah. Amen. I'm still trying to remember that word.
And I've been researching it, trust me.
Yeah. You know, just...
Honestly, Pentecostal, but
No, it's not a Christian thing. It's a non-Christian thing.
okay.
Motivation.
I don't even hear that.
That's kind of close to that.
That's close to it.
But anyhow, by the way, those people who give those messages in the world, they are evangelists. They just don't know it. They're not born again, for the most part. So a lot of people operate in different gifts and offices of the Spirit. Now, why do I say that? Because it says when Yeshua ascended, he gave gifts to men, to all flesh. So, like for instance, your prophet today might be called a psychic, or your apostle today might be coordinating building projects, okay? Or your pastor today might be out there taking care of people, meeting people's needs, taking care of like homeless shelters and other things like that. And today's a teacher would be someone who is really good at teaching. Really good at teaching, and that's what they're good at. That's the only thing they're good at. But that's not, necessarily mean that there's only a teacher. The only thing a teacher can do is teach, okay? And then the evangelist is anybody who's a car salesman. Okay, well, maybe not just a car salesman, but that's a pretty good one right there. Because they could, you know how they find a way to convince you to get something? Well, it might be the same way with someone selling a house, right? Okay, they have the power with their words. You could say that's an evangelist. Okay, well, that's before we're saved. So what we should be doing is, during this time of the counting of the Omer, God should be giving us gifts from heaven. Or, of course, He won't give it to us unless we ask for it. Okay, so we should be, moving. If we are an evangelist or a reaper or someone who reaps, we should be receiving that gift during this time, or a revelation at least of an understanding of what that gift is. And it's same thing for all the fivefold ministry during this time. Okay, this is the time of what I call the impartation. God is imparting into His people during this time. The question is: are we asking? Are we receiving? Are we? We don't receive because we don't ask. A lot of times, is there something you want from the Lord? Is there something that you want God to use you for? Then this is the time to ask. He's ready to give it. One year He showed me all the heaven open with like these gift boxes. They're ready to drop them through. But we have to ask to receive. Okay, do you want a gift of healing? This is the time to ask. Do you want, that doesn't mean you necessarily receive it, but this is the time to ask, and this is the time to receive it. Okay. In 2 weeks we begin Shavuot. Okay, so this is going to be the beginning of the time of the harvest, right after Shavuot. And I'm expecting God to do big things because the whole world has been shaken. So therefore, get ready because it's time for us to do something. It's time for us to get busy. Okay. Now what is this portion about? The portion HAR, the first part of the double portion, if you look in your notes on page 1, the word is HAR. It literally means mountain. And the root word harar also means mountain or hill country. And it comes from a root, an unused root meaning to boom up. Okay, so to build up, a mountain that's getting built up is what this first part of it is about. Okay, starting off, actually this portion goes from Leviticus or Vayikra 25:1 to 26:2, just this part of the portion. Okay, and this is what it's talking about. And you might think, what sense is that? Okay, well, I'm going to show you, because everything in the Word is spiritual. It is not physical. There are physical words, but everything in the Word is meant to be seen spiritually. So in Leviticus 25:3, actually, let's just look at it. I have it in your notes. During 6 years you shall sow your field. Well, what does that mean, sow your field? Actually, you are going to bring salvation to the world. And during 6 years, you shall prune your vineyard. That means perfect your souls in Torah, self-discipline, while also disciplining and discipling others in Torah. And you shall gather in its crops, or its crop, protecting the souls that are won and taught in Torah, that will be gathered in the resurrection of the dead, or transformation of those still alive at the coming for His bride. Okay? 6 years, you do work. The work is bringing salvation to the world, gathering in the harvest. Okay? And also, by the way, a part of that is pruning your vineyard. Now, it says in the scriptures, He prunes those He loves. And if you're not being pruned, that means you're not loved. So, in a way, I'm trying to help you to see that it's a good thing to get corrected. Okay? That's what pruning is. It's correction. It's actually cutting off parts of a tree that are unproductive. They're bad branches. And by the way, when you cut it, the area for which you cut, if you cut it, let's say the branch goes out like this. If you cut it like this, it'll keep going out like that. If you cut it like that, it'll go out like that way. So you actually direct which way the tree grows, by pruning it. When God is doing that with us, okay, his harvest, he is directing our way. But the cutting is not going to feel good. We don't realize there's so much unproductive junk in our lives that is wasting us, that is wasting the goodness that God has in us. So God's doing the cutting.